Life is not only black and white. Somewhere in the grey lies the truth, where perspectives collide and stories connect. Welcome to the Black, White and Grey podcast. Let's have a conversation.
Right, so we ended the last episode on dreams. We want to take it to you, Anna, to talk about how you manifest those dreams, because you've had more than your fair share of success. So when did you start manifesting? How did you do it? Tell us how.
2015. Can remember roughly around July. I've got a great memory.
That's
Jeez.
good.
Wow.
It's very specific.
Yeah.
Around July, she
Yeah.
says.
Around July.
You know exactly when it was.
Exactly, you know exactly when it was.
So I was, I remember not being a great time in my life. So I was in between jobs and debating what I'm going to do next. And then I read The Secret, the book that everyone seems to read. And it, when I finished reading the book, I can't recall what made me do it, but I went to work and I printed loads of things I wanted to achieve, like house, car, job, career, salary. I knew the exact salary I wanted to have at that point. So I put it all on a wall.
So that's a vision board, right?
Yeah. I put it behind my bedroom door, and within about, I say 8 weeks, I started manifesting it. So the salary I wanted, I got just 5k under, but it was doubling what I was before. And some of the other stuff I manifested within about 5 years. So I remember looking at footballers' house, and I thought, wow, I would love to have a house like that. I printed it and put it behind. I remember the exact car I wanted to have, and I bought the car within about 5 years. I bought the house in about 5 years.
So hang on a minute. I've been manifesting for 15 years and I ain't got shit. So what am I doing wrong?
Did you put? Obviously, there's a lot of work behind it. It's not just putting the wall and things.
Did you do the vision board?
Let's just pray and it will come.
No, but
there's a lot of work
what it
behind.
is. Some people, you go online, you hear a lot of people talking about manifestation, and it's like, are you doing the right or correct work based on your interpretation? Because nobody really explains it. So
Correct.
yes, I could do the vision board, but what else does that come with?
You have to. So you don't. The one thing I believe, and I've heard that so many times, is that you don't have to have a plan. You don't know. You don't have to know exactly what you're going to do. You just know exactly where you want to go. You need to know what you want. You need to know the end goal. And if, let's say that you want to earn, I don't know, 6 figures, you need to have an exact number of what you want to earn.
I think that's true, because some people will go, I want to earn 100k a year, but they won't like how it's being offered to them. It will look them straight in the face. Maybe it's doing something that they think is beneath them, and they go, don't want to do it.
Correct.
Because I always imagine it's 100k being a lawyer or something, and then they dismiss it rather than just keep following the track.
So it sounds like what you're doing is specifically what you want.
You know the outcome you want.
Deep down in the gut, the outcome.
Yeah.
But how you get there, you've got no idea.
I didn't. To be fair, I took a job. So, remember I wanted a salary that was double of what I was on, right?
Yeah.
But the first job I took was a salary that was less.
Bonus.
I didn't know where I was going, but I thought that I like this job.
And was that after you vision boarded everything?
Yes.
So you vision boarded then you took a pay cut.
Yeah.
To then know that you're going to get a pay. To then
I didn't even know.
To believe in the fact that that's going to lead to your.
Yeah. Somehow.
I was going to say.
Somehow I didn't know the trajectory to where I was going at that time. But I took that role and I thought instinctively, let me take this role and see how it goes. Let me try something different to what I was on. Let me try a different path. And then after 6 weeks in that role, I applied for another role and I was given that job straight away.
Do you mind me asking what your original job was, job role, and what the lesser, and then what the above one was? What were the job roles?
The original job I was working in Canary Wharf.
Okay.
Yeah, in the financial services.
Okay.
And then at that time, I was really unhappy with my role, and I wanted to progress. I was frustrated. I thought I was doing everything well. Wasn't perfect, but I was doing everything well to be able to get to get promoted. However, in that company, there was like 3,000 employees. I just thought there is no way I'm going to be able to compete with everybody. There's always going to be somebody better than me, or works harder than me, or I don't know, suppose more dedicated than I am. As much as I felt that I was hardworking, I just didn't think I was working in an environment that would enable me to grow at that point. So then I quit that role and was sort of looking for another role, constantly searching. Found a role that was less paid. And I thought, I'm going to take this one and see how it goes. So I went to that role. Within about 6 weeks to 8 weeks, I was given a role as a manager for the same role. Not in the same company, a different business.
And what was the role?
Was to become a in-house legal manager.
Oh, so it's completely different.
So I went
sector.
for financial services. Yeah, completely different sector.
Okay.
But I had to take a junior role to be able to understand the company, what they do, and also understand what the role involves. I feel like sometimes people take managerial roles without knowing what your juniors are doing, and then you don't have the same level of respect or admiration or even, I don't know, credibility that you should have. So then I took that role, not knowing that I was going to find the same roles elsewhere
In a managerial position.
And I didn't have a managerial experience back then, and they still gave me a chance. It was I had to wake up early, I had to prove myself, and it was a lot of traveling because I was traveling from North London all the way to Croydon to do the managerial role. But that's the salary I wanted, right? I manifested the salary.
Just put in the work as well.
Yeah.
That I was to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, get on a train, go to Croydon, because I wanted to be the first person in that job.
So if we go back to what Ed said, where he said, some people don't like what's put in front of them for that 100K, let's call it. For you, was it more about, I know the money I want, I don't really care how I get there?
Correct.
Which is Viktor Frankl's thing. If you read the Man's Search for Meaning, and the whole point about who can survive the Holocaust was essentially boiled down to whose state of mind believed that they could survive it and was positive enough and could see the optimism and things. So if you just saw it for what it was,
So it's almost manifestation, right?
Exactly. Or it's certainly belief. Like, you could, somebody driving from North London to Croydon every day would be their version of hell.
Yeah.
But if you knew what you were doing it for, you can justify.
So for the listeners,
Yeah.
Because some people don't know what you currently do,
Right.
and why we're just grilling your manifestation.
Yeah.
Can you let them know what it is what your position currently is now?
So I have quite a few positions at this point in my life. I have a law firm, which I co-funded. I'm a lawyer. And also I own a recruitment business, in a global recruitment business with offices in different parts of the world. And I think that's about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But didn't you recently get a role at a university as well?
Oh, yes. Something else. So I am an entrepreneur in residence at University of Portsmouth, which I'm going to be lecturing next month.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Because I think when it comes to manifestation, obviously I've had, right now I'm in a whirlwind of things, right? So I'm doing a fair few bits and pieces here and there, but I don't think I have that laser focus that you were talking about. I don't have a goal as in I know what I want my life to look like, but I don't have that specific goal of, let's say, I want to make 100K in X amount of time. Actually, I say that. I've said to myself I want 10 clients by end
You
of...
do have a goal list.
I do.
But it's interesting that because the 10 clients, it's a different objective, right? Because you could then fumble around for anybody who goes, I'll pay you $500 because I'm a client. Whereas if you go, I only want 10 clients, they're going to pay me $5,000.
But I also know what that comes with. So
okay.
There is a set price for each client as well.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously I know what the financial goal is by the end of this year to hit X amount.
Question I'd ask you then, based on Anna's principles and what she went through, is do you believe that you're going to get those 10
I 100%
clients
believe I'll get the 10 clients.
for the money that you want from them?
I have no doubt that will happen. But again, I don't necessarily know how yet.
Are you going to be satisfied when you get them?
No.
Were you satisfied when you got 100K?
Or whatever your goal
I
is.
was very satisfied, actually.
Yeah.
My first 100K was, I felt good.
Yeah, I think it's a big milestone for people that specific. Obviously, the value of
That's a
exchange
great
over
question,
time.
though. It's the value of exchange, right?
Yeah.
See, and again, if we listen to the two points, he's obviously not achieved his one yet. Anna's achieved her one, but she was satisfied with the end result.
Yeah.
And he's unsatisfied.
With the results not exist yet.
Like, and they haven't they don't exist yet. So does he receive his manifestation or not? Like, what does that look like?
But for me, that 10 clients would be a start, right, to the rest of it. And I'm not saying I'm not satisfied. I'll be very happy. Look, if I get the 10 clients, I'll be extremely happy, right? And it'll be I'll celebrate the small win. But it's not the end goal.
But that was a dopamine hit right there. Anna was like, that felt good.
It's an achievement.
Yeah, and
Felt
in a
good.
way, because I think there's a lot in that. There's like status. There's an actual figure.
Mm.
It sort of completes.
Can we look at one thing in this process though? And can we go back to the current mindset at that time
Mm-hmm.
when you was just like, F it, I'm going to go and cut up these magazines and all this stuff
Mm.
to create a vision board? What was the mindset like? Because his one may be a slightly different mindset in that approach. So what was your mindset like?
I was certain I was going to get it. I didn't know how. I never wrote 100K. The salary I wanted at that time was like 50 grand, I remember. And then after, when I've managed to get it a few months, I managed to get 100K within about 3 years of that day.
Yeah, but the manifestation was for double what you was currently achieving, right? What you was done.
Yeah, at the time, yes.
Yeah. So then when the 50 come, was that the achievement?
I didn't feel that it was enough.
This is my point.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Right?
the size of the manifestation.
Yeah.
So when
yeah.
I put 50, I thought I was gonna be happy with the 50. So when I got there, I was like, oh, that's not
But you
even.
technically remanifested though. You
then you-
reset the goal.
Yeah.
I don't
You
remember.
shifted the goalpost.
I didn't. Yeah, I did, but I didn't actually add it on paper again. I just knew that I wanted to be on six figures.
When you took a step down,
yeah.
did it still feel like you're taking a step forward?
No, it felt like in between.
Okay.
What was the reason? Because I like that question, and I think it's important for people to understand that you took a step down, but at that time, was the step down a step towards a career choice as opposed to a financial? Because a step down financially in the right career path of where you want to go is more impactful than just stepping down because, I don't know, I just want less money somewhere else.
No, well, all I wanted at that point was a good environment, because I wanted an environment that I could thrive in and learn. So my view was, I need to learn new things. I need to become better. I need to improve my skills. I need to become more sophisticated. So if I need to go back and wanted to go forward, then be it. But I didn't want to go somewhere else, take a big jump, and then be incompetent at my role.
Yeah.
So then I went back to go
So
forward.
some of your teachings, because what I hear now is that there was elements of teachings from other people or videos or things that's inspired you to give you a sort of route to potentially getting you where you need to be. And you've just said, like, if that's what I've got to do to learn more, because I feel inadequate now, then I'm gonna go and do whatever it takes.
Yeah. But the motivation I used to listen to, it was to keep me going for consistency, because the issue with manifesting, or the issue with getting better, is consistency. So you could be doing, I needed to have something that no matter what my mood was like, I was going to be able to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, at 6 o'clock in the morning, and keep going. Doesn't matter if somebody died. It doesn't matter if I was sad. Doesn't matter if it was hormonal. Doesn't matter what happened to my life. I had to wake up at that time. So the motivation was to keep me going, because I understood that consistency was going to get me there.
So you made the sacrifices.
Yeah, I used to go to work Monday to Sunday.
Made the sacrifices.
Did it come at a cost? Because I guess the wraparound with
did.
manifestation is everybody goes, oh, you manifested, therefore you must be happy. But you could probably look back on that and go, actually,
there is no such a thing as balance.
yeah.
So you either, if you're going to really focus on your career and you want to make £1 million, you can make £1 million, but you know that it probably won't be as good a father you were hoping to be, or as good as mother, or as good as daughter, or as good as son. So your family, something will have to give. There is no relationships.
Even friends, yeah.
Yeah, something will have to give for you to be able to achieve a certain goal. If you want to be, if you want to have a great relationship, then your career probably going to not do as well as you were hoping for. That £1 million may take a bit longer to get to. You may get there, but it will take longer. I wasn't willing to sacrifice the timing. I wanted to get it, and I wanted to get it now. So, and I was okay to sacrifice everything else. So that could be deemed quite selfish, but that's, if you look back and read from people that achieve those kind of levels, there's an element of selfishness there, like to keep you.
Self-driven focus.
Yeah.
I will say though, like I was at a point in my life where I was trying to help a lot of people, and in terms of people come to me with their problems, and I talked through it, and my mentor at the time said, "You do realize that you can't help anyone." He's like, "You're not in a position to help anyone." He said, "Until you are in a position to be able to give someone a job or help them throughout their situation, you're just an ear." He's like, "So you've said that it may be quite a selfish move, but realistically, you've now put yourself in a position where you can genuinely help people around you, right?"
Yeah. Fun.
So it's quite an interesting thing to say. It's selfish, but really, is it? You know?
Well, somewhat, yeah, it is, I believe, because if you're sacrificing the very few people that helped you become the person you are at that time, you're sacrificing the minor for the masses, right? That the people that you don't know.
Not necessarily,
not
because,
necessarily.
because say there were these people around Anna, right? Close friends. I'm sure they're still there.
Yeah,
right?
they understood. They understand.
And
that.
then now Anna's in a position to then be able to help these people in a real way if they ever needed it.
So the good friends are still there.
They're still here.
The inner circle's still there.
They're still here.
right?
They're still here.
Yeah, that's.
I mean,
amazing.
I do think like you could time out on some things not to be able to come back to them.
Correct.
Some things will just time out and
Yeah.
you don't get to go backwards on them. So again, a death of a family member, it's like if you've been manifesting and pursuing, that's a relationship you're going to have to square off and be comfortable with. But also, I guess, anybody who wants the best for you will be okay to see you in a better place. But your point was interesting because it's true. We can absorb people's problems like a sponge all day long, but actually, you're right, like you being able to employ people or being able to kind of create a company culture that they'd enjoy working for or redistribute wealth.
Exactly. Or even if it's having enough experience within your own role or your own life to be able to give people advice that actually makes sense. Whereas, if you've not been through it,
It's an opinion. At that
it's an
point.
opinion,
It's an
right?
opinion.
And you can't actually help anyone.
But the big fear is that people, I think the big fear about people manifesting and doing well is that they then pull the stepladder up with them. Like Brendan gets £1 million and suddenly upgrades the stepladder and everybody was there before. Like the kind of archetype of like that jealousy goes, oh, but when you get up in your ivory tower, then you won't have time for us. And actually, I think you're right. Like the point you're making is you could still have time for them.
Or even people that feel, there's other people that once they become millionaires, they're like, I don't care about my friends because we can't relate anymore. I've outgrew them. I'm in a different stage of my life. And I see that online constantly.
I was going to say that.
I think you need to be able to adapt. I think my ride or dies are nowhere near where I am now, but it's nice sometimes to go back and then just be comfortable with people that do not want anything from me.
But then there's an element of, I don't want to say self-made millionaire, come from nothing to something. And then there's the millionaires that have been fortunate to have a family, it's family money that's coming through the process. I'm sure they have different belief systems based on that period.
I agree.
So
probably do it.
I think it's going to be it's not just one dimensional. Because I believe that the person that's come from hardship, that still has their family and friends in poorer areas still, they probably would do their best to go back and help the community as they do.
Well, Anthony Joshua is a good example of
and
that,
just to
right?
feel at home sometimes, because sometimes you feel, you don't, to be fair, it came to a point I was actually discussing with a friend. It's like, sometimes I don't feel comfortable anywhere in different stages. Perhaps I'm not there yet to
there
feel
is no
like.
there, but you probably reverse culture shocked yourself, right? Because even if you were there, how everybody gets to the sort of Tower of Millionaires will be a completely different journey.
Correct, yes. And then when you go back to spending some time with friends that are nowhere near, and you still feel like I don't quite fit here anymore. But
that could also happen with just outgrowing friends in general, right?
That's true.
Yeah, it's true. You could just do that.
Did you find that when you achieved your goals and reached the financial goals that you wanted to, people around you changed?
Yes, and they changed. I've still, there's a couple of people I'm still debating whether to keep them in my life or not. And I was actually sat at home yesterday thinking, should I still keep that person? Is there any point? And like, am I forcing this? Because they think you change and they instantly change, preempting your change.
That's interesting.
What's that line? Money doesn't change people; it reveals people.
Yeah. So but they preempt it. They're like, oh, she's cool. She must have
but
like
it's just revealing their true colours.
Yeah. And then it turns into jealousy, into like digs here and there or comments here and there.
Or like your life
and
is
then- and
easy
it's-
somehow.
Somehow they only celebrate you when they know that that you're aware that they look at your stuff. So yeah, not gonna go into it, but then also lose friends because they're like, oh, you're gonna change. So let me cut you off before you cut me off. Sort of
You don't lose
situation.
friends. You never had them.
That's true.
It's
No, but
cold.
that's really strange because that particular individual was one of those that was really supportive on the way up.
Yeah, but
But then
they may never have been your friend.
Mm.
They
Well, so I guess
might
if
have been using you to satisfy their needs. That's not a
Mm.
friend, because if you go back to what we've spoken about, it's equivalent exchange as well. It's
But it's
that-
difficult though, right? Because sometimes like some people to get rich and successful become opportunity climbers. And they
That's
will be the
true.
person who then goes, this is working a bit. And now I'm always looking for the person in the room that's the next ladder up. And then I guess when you've been around those people, sometimes you feel that you don't have that cachet for them, right? They just go, I want people who can do stuff for me constantly. And that's
Or using people.
yeah, and then you know they will continue to do that until they realise that doesn't work anymore. Right?
Well, you know, there's someone I knew who did very well with themselves, right? Very well in life. He's a mentor of mine, and he used to pay a lot of his family's mortgages,
Hmm.
and then he got very ill, very very ill, and he said, "Guys, I can't do it anymore
Hmm.
because I can't work." Right, and the majority of them, bar one, were so angry at him
Mm.
and cut him out of their life because they said, well, hold on, what do you expect us to do now?
which is fine.
I've got to pay a mortgage. And you're like, hold on a minute. I've got to a position where I can help you. I've tried to help you. At first, it was like a 1 month thing, 2 month thing. And then it becomes 5 years of constantly paying your mortgage. And then all of a sudden,
I was gonna say that, and that's the thing, isn't it? When you do earn a substantial amount of money, and then you start helping people, are you helping or hindering? Because if their mindset hasn't changed and shifted in the process, do they have the capabilities and the skills to maintain everything you've given them when you can't?
But then-
They always say that once you start helping people, so let's say the first time I give you a present, Brendan, I say, let's say I'll give you a Lamborghini, and then you become
that'd be nice.
surprised.
Yeah.
You're surprised,
That'd be
and,
nice,
and,
wouldn't
and, and you're very happy with it. The second year, you're going to create an
Expect.
expectation.
I want an equivalent of a
And
Lamborghini.
the third year, it's going to be an entitlement. And that's the issue there, when it becomes an entitlement.
Oh, did they say that? Yeah.
I remember my colleagues at work, I used to do incentives. I used to give presents every year. The first year, everyone was, oh my God, that's really nice. Second year, I was like, oh, it's coming. The third year was like,
Where is it?
Where's the gifts?
where's the gift?
Where's my
No.
Lambo?
I started receiving a gift gift list
Oh,
wish of what they
wow.
wanted, and that
Hate
completely
that.
That's crazy.
that felt so
But now you're telling me
uncomfortable.
I've got to give you stuff.
Yeah.
Exactly,
You've
and
taken
then
away my choice.
yeah, and that instantly became a problem for me because I
But
don't
this
like
is-
being told what to do.
This is
Yeah.
kind of what I was talking about. Like when you start helping people and you're in a high enough position to help people from my original point, you then start losing people that are close to you or who you thought were close to you.
Family members as well.
Here's
That's
the
what I'm
thing, right? So
saying.
if we were all took control of our own lives and all manifested what we personally want, would we all be in a better place? Because I guess when somebody gives you a freebie, what you didn't anticipate or what you weren't manifesting was a hand me out. Because I don't
You
think-
never knew it was coming.
But it goes back to your initial question to Anna, in the sense of you've been so laser focused in what you wanted. Do you lose stuff? And like Anna replied, it's balance, right? To get something, you've got to lose something. To gain, you've got to lose.
Yeah, that's true.
And
Yeah.
no matter how big or small, you don't know how big the end goal is. So you don't know
What the sacrifice
what the
is.
sacrifice is. So you've got to be comfortable
But
with
if
accepting it.
we all agreed on that, we'd all respect each other for those sacrifices. Because we go, well, I'm
Yeah.
making sacrifices. So now Brendan's chasing his thing, and that's okay because I've been there. Whereas only if I'm sat around going,
What if you was the sacrifice there?
"Yeah, true."
But then if you, I think obviously you're in an ideal world situation where you're like, okay, everyone's going to understand that someone's getting sacrificed. But then obviously there's a lot of people in life that don't have the same ambitions that Anna, for example, has, right? In terms of they don't care about the 6-figure goal.
Maybe that's it. Maybe your manifestation is actually subconsciously saying you're not good enough for me. I want more for my life. I'm not satisfied with where I'm at, and I want more. Whereas somebody else may go, hey, I like this. I don't want to change, and I don't want to put in the hours and work. So actually, you're upsetting my core values because essentially it's not good enough for you.
I think we've gone a bit.
But I feel like if you're going to be like that, if you make the choice, I'm happy with my 30,000 salary, and I want to spend more time with my family. I want to, I don't know, spend more time with my kids, and
I want to start a family.
Yeah.
you start a family, then you shouldn't judge or sort of, I don't know, that person shouldn't not ignite feelings of resentment.
Yeah.
And then therefore, because you made a choice, so like, so I've got a particular friend, I think that she looks at me and she resents who she is, but she chose her path, or she decided to stop for whatever reason that was. But then I think if you're going to make those choices, you need to be very clear. You can't sort of resent somebody else for making, or even comment on what the choice that they make, to make yourself feel better about.
It's also accountability, isn't it? Because a lot of people are not accountable for their actions. So
Indeed.
that's where that will show up.
Well, it's a bit like, I spoke to you guys about this last week. It's about holding up a mirror to yourself.
Absolutely.
And seeing when you see someone that's done what you wanted to do or you dreamed of doing.
Your manifestation's a weird mirror, right? Because it's a version of you that doesn't even exist yet. You're trying to look at a version of yourself that you believe you are, which is successful, confident, good at your job, whatever it is. But you're not there yet, so it's like you're kind of playing.
Well, this is it.
You're dreaming, aren't you?
Yeah.
Manifestation's almost like you're dreaming of the future you, but then you don't know how to get there.
But you need to act
you solve it backwards.
You
right?
need to act like
You act like you are already there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I guess when you put that figure in the air, the great thing is then your brain probably starts spotting the opportunity to get there. Actually, that's a possibility.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the red car.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, and I think
it is
playing that game backwards. It's like a game of chess with yourself. But
no, but you already believe you're there, right? So you create your vision board, you believe it to be true, and then you act like you're already there. So if I wanted to be, I don't know, a footballer as a child, I will dress up like a footballer and train like a footballer, like it's happening already, and then all over time it just happens.
So it's
fake it. How you're getting it.
So fake it till you make it.
No, but you're not faking it. You believe in it.
Embody the character.
You have to embody
it.
It's true.
Well, what do we say about manifestations that are not possible?
Like,
in what sense? Well,
say you're just, especially, it's probably been mostly in competitive sport that I can think of the most obvious examples, but you go, I wanted to be the best. I thought I was the best. I've just been beaten over and over and over.
But do you not think that's more about resilience in terms of?
It could be the lesson, but if they say I manifest being world champion,
I think
boxing,
I was going to say, I think we need to give an example on this because.
Well, Usain Bolt, right? When somebody runs against him and goes, I just can't beat him.
But then what about the ones that do? Do we then say that they truly believe that they would, and the others didn't believe it to be true?
Yeah,
and that's the thing, right? Because he did lose a fair few times when he wasn't expected to lose.
Yeah, true. That's true.
So then do we look at it like the ones that did do it, they truly believed that they would beat him?
They kept turning up. And you're right, like if they were defeatist about it, they would have lost 100 out of 100 races. So even pipping him in a race that they weren't expected to win.
So Justin Gatlin in 2017, the London World Champs, he wasn't supposed to beat Bolt in his last ever World Champs. Then there was a false start in the finals, and I was in the stand, and I'm like, Gatlin's going to win. I just knew Gatlin was going to win. And Bolt lost that race, but every single race leading up to that for years, Gatlin couldn't beat him. So then are we turning around saying Justin Gatlin never knew, like he had the dream to be the fastest in the world, and then all of a sudden, because Bolt turned up, he didn't believe he's going to beat him. He always said he knew, but he didn't know when. He didn't know how he was going to get there.
Well, maybe that's the adaptability, like we said, about accepting the path that you're given to get the result you want. It's like you've asked to beat him. Sorry, it wasn't on the Olympic stage. You didn't get the gold medal, but you did have a significant victory when it mattered. If you're willing to accept,
yeah. Bolt's last ever race. He retired after that.
Yeah, mad.
So,
well, Brendan, you were saying about the mirror of music being held up. Like, how did that feel against the manifestations you put out?
I think it's very difficult for me to comment because my goals have changed. Right. Okay. So over time, my goals have changed. I think when I was here sitting with that mirror in front of me with music, it was more of a retrospect of it shows what I didn't do back then to achieve what I wanted back then. And again, I think as time goes by, as I get a bit older, I start to understand a bit more every year. I'm never going to understand everything, but you learn, right? You live and learn. I already knew my weaknesses back then. So it's just, and I still know my weaknesses now, right? So when there's someone so clearly holding up that mirror to show that here's the parallels and here's the differences, even if I was manifesting it back then, I wasn't willing to give what a certain person was willing to give to get there.
Yeah.
So as you said, maybe the route was in front of me. And I guarantee if I really wanted to, I probably could have done something.
I think so too.
Right. If I really, really wanted it and I was laser focused on that goal, I probably could have achieved it because I was very fortunate to have doors open for me.
Mm.
And I think I just didn't have that extra bit of push to be able to do it.
Are you of the belief that the more you kind of clear house, the better you'll be able to manifest stuff? Hence, like you could manifest as a 17-year-old, but actually what you want to do is go speak to your mentor, go live some life experience, clear house, know yourself better, and then choose that as a time to manifest what you really want in life so you don't go on a false quest.
Well, I remember that there was a point in the music situation where I was just told to stop doing music and to go and reflect and learn about myself and be more of a yes person, flow, right? In terms of, I was very in my own feelings, writing music, sitting at home, not much life experience, one relationship in my life, it's just like, what'd you write about? And then I was told to literally stop music. He's like, don't do it. He says, you don't need it, not right now. He says, whether you need it or want it later in life, we don't know. But stop doing it. Again, essentially clear house, learn about yourself, figure out who you are, and then essentially reevaluate. Now, whether that conversation was to then push me harder to say, oh, no, I really want it, or whether,
Sometimes it is.
I think it's probably a bit of both, and saying it was either a wake-up call to say, Brendan, you either do it now or you don't do it.
Yeah.
Or it was, as I said, it's a bit of both, for me to learn more about myself. And it was really valuable because that hit me really hard because I was like, oh, God, hold on a minute. I've been working for this my whole time. I've been manifesting it as such. But I wasn't taking the right steps towards it. I was taking steps. I was writing music every week. I was writing songs every week. I've got like 300 songs that's sitting in a bank.
But did you truly believe it, though, that you was going to be...
No. No. I didn't. I think it always... Because I dreamed about it since I was a kid, right? And it's such a grandiose, bigger-than-life goal, right, to be essentially a singer or an artist, that I don't think I ever really honestly believed I could do it. Mm. So therefore, the manifestation was like... It was a dream. It wasn't a goal. Does that make sense? And I think, what I've realised about being around successful people and that have done very well in life is that they have goals more so than dreams.
Yeah.
Right? And each of them is a stepping stone to whatever the next goal is. And I think with music, it's never linear. There's so many factors in terms of, I felt at the time anyway, I felt there's luck, there's ability, there's timing, there's who you know. And I think in my head, for all of those to line up and for me to be successful was such a out of reach goal that I couldn't plan it. So you said work backwards.
I think that's probably what probably tripped you over, because sometimes preparation meets timing. So you can't give up, you have to keep going. They said, and I think what motivated me the most is when people told me to stop. No, stop, go and try something else, or go and do that, or maybe that isn't for you.
But that's the embodiment of your character.
I'm like, you telling me what's for me? This isn't how I'm wired. I decide what's for me and what isn't. So that would have made me go home and still try life experiences, but taking some of the feedback, but definitely ignoring the rest of it and just do whatever.
So I already had that conversation so many times by that point, in terms of like, Brendan, you've got every door open. Why are you not just doing it? Right?
Yeah.
And this must have been 3-4 years into my journey as a musician. And I started to think, you start believing it, you start thinking, maybe I don't really want this. Right. And I, to this day, I still don't know.
Were you afraid?
Yeah, I think I could say I was afraid.
This is interesting. So there's multiple factors to unravel here because
I love the mix.
Yeah, because it sounds like his one. It sounds like the people or specific people damaged his manifestation process and his dream.
You almost needed more ego. You almost
Yeah.
needed more delusion.
Yeah.
Ego, like
Yeah.
You need delusion.
going out there, right? And people think, oh, you can't do it. And you go, yes, I can. And your ego's just...
Which I don't have, right? My ego is like, as I said, for me, it was like there's a goal here and I was here,
Yeah.
right? And you said, you know, when we're talking about manifestation, you talk we're working backwards. With business, with everything like that, I can do that. I can say, for me to achieve, let's call it 100K,
Yeah.
I need to achieve X amount of clients to get there. And this is how I get those clients. And there's a step-by-step in my head,
Systematic process.
systematic, I can get there.
Yeah.
Whereas music was like, here's celebrity, here's you, Mr. Brendan No Release Music, right? Like, where? Then there's like a few Instagram videos to get like 3,000 views. Where is that? You know, there's no path.
But maybe you
No.
can make a character for yourself. You know what I mean? I feel like some musicians...
What if? Okay, so you want 10 clients. Why do you want 10 clients?
Because I know that'll reach my financial goal for the year.
So why don't you just put the financial goal? Because one client may get you there. What if that client has several other businesses?
Yeah.
What if that
Possibly.
client has a friend that has 20 other friends? So the goal should always be the sum that you want. Forget how you're gonna get there. This gets reached quickly because like this. So just forget that. Just remember about the goal, okay? And you think because you think the 10 clients will get that, it may distract you from seeing.
The other opportunities to come
But
along
is
with it.
the
Could be so many options because the goal might come like this. There might be so many routes to
It's true.
that goal, right?
Right.
I'm
So,
thinking
so with the music would have been. It could have been one person that you meet. Could be 10 people that you have to meet.
Could have met
I
Diddy.
think the interview that we've had last week. The interview that we've had last week. It shows someone that just didn't stop. She just kept going.
And that's what I'm
meet
saying.
this person. She worked herself to a sickness.
who was that?
But she had an innate belief that she would. And it goes back to the ego, right?
No, she just decided she won't give up.
But this is, music was her life. That was it.
This is what I was gonna say. Is it a specific archetype of person that can manifest on that level and achieve the manifestation? Do they need that thing inside them?
I think there's elements of various things like ego to keep going, right?
Yeah, well,
drive,
but also,
tenacity.
maybe we're interested
Resilience.
in people who don't feel like real people. And when somebody becomes like egotistical, larger than life, or confident, or a character that sings, maybe we go, oh my God, that allows us to escape ourselves in a different way versus the person who's just trying really hard. And it's,
But maybe we're also looking at manifestation only in one area because all we've spoken about and touched on is financial or celebrity success through manifestation. What about somebody that just wants to be free from circumstance, right? That might be in a war-torn country and all they want to do is be free in another country just to work so they don't have to deal with that no more.
well, and sadly, I feel like they take improbable risk, right? As
Yeah.
people like that get sold promises of fleeing a war-torn country through people smugglers, and
Yeah.
it's pretty
So-
dark, right?
And
Yeah.
the process is probably the same, exactly the same.
Yeah.
And they, like Anna said, they don't know how they're going to get there. They just believe it to be true.
Did you ever hear the story about
One of my friends is actually an asylum seeker who was under trains
That's
and
crazy.
he fled. I'm not even going to say the country, and he came to the UK all the way through Europe. He said he was washing his face in France one day. Then they held up a gun against him. He gave money to one guy who was supposed to help him. Then he got robbed, but he made it to the UK. And anytime he tells me his story, I'm just like, bro, how? He's 25 years old.
Did you hear that? Did you hear the
He lived.
Francis
He's
Ngannou
there.
story?
He lived though.
Did you hear the Francis Ngannou one?
No, I didn't actually. I didn't hear
He
it.
literally was working. I think it was like the sand pits or sand mines or salt mines or something in his home country. I think it was Sierra Leone. I'll double check. And he like got in the back of a van to go across like numerous countries, fled into France.
Yeah.
Then started like hustling his way into sort of training at a gym, and he's become UFC champion on the back of that. And it's like his chances at each particular step of that journey were slim. His story is insane. But then I guess for everybody who's done that, there's somebody who just got a bullet in the back of the head or something. Or
But then you look at the steps or the characteristics, because like my friend, He's definitely got an ego.
You
He
have-
definitely had belief. He definitely doesn't give a shit if like somebody tells him you can't do this or we cuss him. And he's got this other thing where he's just curious.
Yeah, you have to be inquisitive.
Curiosity is another thing where he's just
Yeah,
like,
you have
what's
to be
over there?
inquisitive. Yeah.
And he'll take those risks to get there. So
But ego, don't get ego wrong. It doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to be. It could be a silent
In
ego.
the ego,
internal
It
yeah.
could be
belief, right?
lethal
Yeah.
because you're like the silent ego. For me, I think I don't go to a room and say like everybody look at me. In fact, I want to sort of the opposite. But I observe people's eyes. I observe what they think of me, and I prefer to be underestimated than overestimated. So always, because then that takes the pressure away from
See,
expectation.
Whereas I think I'm always overestimated.
Yes, you are. You just have that. You just that person. That is,
No, but it's
I can see why.
thank you. I appreciate
That doesn't
that.
help him. I'm
But this
sure
is
that-
this is this
that's
is my
pressure.
point. So it's
that
like
extra. It's a layer of pressure there.
I think that's what it is. I think for me it was like you're overestimated. You're always overestimated. Whether it's overestimated or people just believe in you the way I should have believed in myself.
Yeah, yeah.
Whatever that may be, but you always got an expectation.
Yeah.
Whereas if I had no expectation, if you're always underestimated, you're always overachieving.
Yeah.
If you're always overestimated, you're always underachieving.
Exactly. I think over expectations are like the fastest way to sink a ship.
This is it. So like, it's so hard to outperform what people have in mind for you already. So if everyone thinks I'm going to be a celebrity, to say a musician,
yeah, but then you need that ego, don't you? And you need some accountability, and you need little things that just bring you back down to the floor.
but I don't think I have a problem bringing myself down to the floor.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like if everybody, like for me, everybody can expect all they want. If I truly know, then it don't really matter what they think.
True.
That's your problem.
Yeah. No. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, like, so you've got to have something within you that's, I want to call it real within yourself. You got to have something,
And that's
real
about that
within
self-reflection, right? So a bit like what my mentor told me to do, like go look at yourself and understand who you
you.
are.
He grounded you, though. That's grounding right there. And I think that one line is what made you say, huh? Because nobody's ever told. Well, I say nobody's ever told you that, and then he's come along and given you that culture shock. Right? What do you mean?
Well, no, absolutely.
But should it add to you? So, for instance, if, like you said, you have to know yourself, right? So if you know yourself really well, you know your weaknesses. Nobody has to tell you.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
They might remind you. You already know exactly what you're lacking, right?
facts.
If you truly know yourself,
Absolutely
right?
facts.
And then when somebody says something, oh, you're not very good at that, you already
You're like,
know. So
yeah,
it should trigger
no
something
shit.
in
That's the
you.
triggers, right?
Yeah, the trigger. It should be like, oh, I'm getting found out.
Yeah.
So I need to address that immediately.
Or not. Some people hide with that because they don't like the reflection, the mirror. And
Yeah.
we find those people, and this is where the accountability thing comes in.
Yeah, but
Being
then,
accountable.
Yeah.
You like to be wrong and strong. And I think you're right. If you know yourself and you've got that drive and that ego, you're supposed to be like, I'm being found out.
Yeah.
Let me go and address this, and that will strengthen me. And then that leads back to the manifestation thing, which you don't think about. You don't know how you're going to get there, but it's all of those little things that are gradually getting you there. And all you're doing is just living through the moment and dealing with the now. So that's wild.
And do you think, though, that manifestation can start from a more obvious place out of hardship? Do you know what I mean? Like if you go, I didn't have much, literally materially, you can go, my manifestation is to have that flat, have a bigger house, because they're on an obvious path of things to seek. Because again, you made a good point. You're like, most of it is sort of semi-material. It sort of includes some things that are unobtainable, but
I think that's that's for this conversation, but I'm sure there's somebody who might be sick all their life and all they want to do is be healthy.
true.
that is true.
Do you know what I
That's
mean?
true.
Like, and they're just like happy-go-lucky, and it's like they've had that dream, they've had that vision, and they're like, you know what, I'm going to pretend I'm not sick, even though they've got the tubes
I
coming out of
find
them.
that wild, right? Because what is debilitating to somebody in one lifetime can be like an injection or an operation now or in the future. They go, that's cured, that's fixed. And you go, everything you ever manifested, it's like, don't worry about it. That's not a problem anymore.
But that's also, for me, looking at it from an energetic point of view, right?
Yeah.
Because if you stick to the physicalities of stuff and the tangibles, you remove the essence of energy existing. And it could be what we could all be describing right now is just energy
True.
taking its toll and doing its thing.
But am I allowed to? So you made a good point earlier, like you said, 15 years of manifesting. Where am I at with it?
Well,
So, yeah, but that's not, I know that's a joke, right? But as in, what would you manifest for yourself? Or have you manifest for yourself? Or would you think, actually, you know what? Because as you say, maybe it's not a material thing.
Yeah, and I think it falls in line with part of what Brendan's saying, right? Sometimes, like, it shifts over time. As you go on the journey, it's only when you look back and you reflect, you're like, I manifested that. That actually happened, but you might not have realised at the time.
Yeah, sometimes you don't know.
Right? And it's only when you stop and have a conversation, then you're like, oh, actually, I did manifest.
Yeah.
Because when I was younger, I think I said this a few episodes ago when we was talking about what did I want when I was younger. All I wanted to do in life when I was really young is travel around the world and own a business. It was journalism that made me travel around the world and start my business. And I was never supposed to be a journalist when I was younger. I was in and around computers. So the journey just happened through the process of one of my friends having trouble in sports. And I wanted to address the other side of him. So it was through his life that started my life.
So again,
process.
the goal was that, and you achieved that goal for, like I said, different routes.
It wasn't. Yeah, it was just.
So if you were
He's
fixated
listening to the podcast
in the
there's a lot
goal,
of hand gestures.
yeah. if you were fixated just on the goal, and this is the line to the goal, then that becomes really complicated. Enabling like flexibility, and you need to be flexible to achieve certain goals. But also, I think with me, I hate when somebody says, hate is a really strong adjective for this.
Say hey, just make it emphasize and
So I was watching Arnold Schwarzenegger yesterday, and he said something that he said. He had a couple of goals, and he essentially said that nothing. Well, his brother passed away, his dad passed away, not too far from each other in terms of the timing. But he said he never stopped to reflect on his loss or to deal with it. It was just like on the moving. So he didn't allow anything around him to compromise his goal. He said he might get to him in a few years, but right now his focus is to get there. And today he still might have maybe dealt with it, but I don't know. But he seems to be. And then there's another thing that that my friend sort of said as well was like, I never sort of accept, like you would say, oh, you made it, or you got to where you wanted. How do you feel? I said, did I? Did I make it? Did I make it? No, I don't think so. I've still got more to achieve. I don't know what it is I need to achieve, but there's that feeling that I haven't not completed my mission here.
You don't feel fulfilled completely.
Don't feel satisfied with what you've...
I am satisfied, but it's incomplete. There's something else I need to do.
There's still missing elements within self, isn't it?
But I think that's a constant journey, right? In terms of you can always improve. There's always something in life where there's growth, right? No matter whether you've reached your financial goal. So say you said you sacrificed family.
Yeah.
In the start, not you specifically, Anna, but just in general, right?
Yeah.
Someone's to sacrifice family to achieve success, financial success. Then, once they've achieved that, then they can start concentrating on being the right family man, and then achieving success as being, for example, a great dad, or a great mum. Like, you never stop learning, and I think when you stop learning, that's kind of the end of the road, right? In terms of,
but and that's what I think. I don't think it was the ideology of never stop learning. I don't think that was it. I think it's just a sense of fulfillment that's just not complete within self. And again, if you go back to the whole manifestation thing, I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I know there's something else that I want. So then you just live to discover what that thing is, and then you manifest it again.
Are we saying in it that we believe it fundamentally is a thing? So would we confidently assert so for instance, my partner took a year to manifest moving flat, getting a partner, getting a promotion, and to fair to her, 3 out of 3 that year. Another year, she took a stab at a couple of other
So
manifestations.
you become a manifestation.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's a bad manifestation. That is a bunk manifestation. But you're right.
You
may
were
not
someone's goal there.
What was
That's
her
huge.
method?
Yeah, man.
Her method was very similar to yours. It was sort of not the self-indoctrination, but repeating things to yourself, believing that you're going to find that way that it's going to present itself, and probably belief in the process that it's a thing, right? Like you don't doubt the fact that manifestation's real. You tell yourself, and again, the weirdest thing is I may go, oh, I doubt it from my own perspective because like, what have I manifested? But I look at it from her perspective and I go, you know what?
I can't argue with
I
it.
can't argue with the evidence.
Well, this is what I mean. The more people I speak to that have done well in life or achieved their goals, they all have a very, what were you saying, archetype of person, right? My partner said at X amount of years old, I'm going to do this role and I'm 100% going to do it. I've got no experience in it, but I'm going to do it. She did it within the year, right? And it's like, next, like for example, a bit like when we met, the day before we met, she said, I want to meet someone that does this, and has these kind of traits. And she said, and then I met you, and she's like,
Crazy.
it was like magic. She was like, I've never had a dream.
Oh.
No. But that's not to big myself up. No, hold on. But
You were magic to somebody.
No, same as Ed being someone.
Sitting on the same side of the room.
But this is my point being is I do think it's a real thing, right? In terms of even for myself, I said I want to do X, Y, Z this year, and I've somehow last year, should I say 2024, and I somehow did manage to do it. The route wasn't how I expected it to be, but I did manage to achieve the most part of what I said I wanted to, and I do think it's important because if you have a goal in your head and you know that's what you want, as you will make it happen some way or another. And as I said, I think when it didn't work out for me, is because I wasn't willing to take the route put in front of me necessarily.
Because you was looking for something, or you wasn't.
Or I wasn't exactly. So, for example, at one point in my life, music was my financial out because I was at a dead end job that wasn't going to make me any more money than. I'm not going to put my number out there, but it was just never going to make me good money, right? And I took a pay cut, a bit like you, Anna, to then learn to do marketing. I took a pay cut, and it hurt my ego because the person who hired me, he said, "How much do you want?" And I said, I'll say the number actually. I said, I want 35 grand. He said, you're not worth 35 grand. And I was like, sorry?
You can manifest something like
Yeah, he was like, yeah, he said, you're like 3 years behind. And I was like, what
I
do you
love
mean?
the honesty though. I get people like that every day, but I don't tell them. I don't burst their bubble. Let them go back to the world.
No, but you know what? But it actually really helped
Somebody
me.
else burst their bubble.
So I got my bubble burst straight. I was shooting, to be fair, because I was on like 20 grand before. So I was like,
It's also crazy, right? Because you could do that job in America and they'd be like, first job, here's $60,000.
Yeah, subject to country.
absolutely. But then I got offered a role that wasn't my role. I got offered a role that was bigger than what I'd normally do.
Yeah.
And I was honest. I said, I don't know anything about digital marketing. I just know socials. And he says, fine, we'll teach you. And then I said, okay, the learning was far more valuable than the money at the time.
Yeah.
And if I didn't take that role then, I wouldn't have been able to achieve my goals last year at all. I wouldn't even come close. So I think there is a thing.
Sometimes going back to go forward.
Yeah, there is a thing to
Yeah.
say that, just because you manifest something here, it doesn't need to happen straight away, right? There's a journey to it all. A bit like, you've said to me in previous episodes, Michael said to me, Brendan, just because you're not doing music now, and Anna said it, everyone said it to me, to be fair, just because I'm not doing music now, maybe this journey ends up with music, for example. But again, that's not what I'm necessarily manifesting right now. But then that's not to say that...
You manifested it already.
That's what I'm saying. So it's not to say that there isn't a goal there somewhere that it's going to happen in the future. What's the journey, right?
Yeah, you've manifested it already. It's already set. Once
It's already set something.
It's already out there, right?
Absolutely.
How you get there, like Anna said, you forget about it. It's almost like set it, forget it, and just live.
Let me put you guys to test then, because loads of people do manifestation on video. So why don't you pick a manifestation to achieve in 12 months? Because now you're not only making yourself accountable, we know what you want to achieve. So we're going to look at you every month by this time, April, next year. Okay, go for it. Edward.
I can't do that. My face punched in.
What is it?
I'm sitting there like racking through my head like...
Okay, something that you can share.
I was going to manifest having Daniel Dubois on the podcast.
No. That's a good
Do you
manifestation.
believe that though?
Yeah, actually, you know what I do? I think I can do a good interview with him. I think we'll have fun.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're fine.
Brandon, would you want to manifest in 12 months?
Damn. What's 12 months from now?
12 months from now is the next, what?
April.
April.
Financial year, yeah.
Financial year. I would have liked to. I want to be on 6 figures. And
Number. Exact number.
I'll call it 100 grand
Okay.
For the
Right.
tax man.
for the tax man. And I want to be in a position where I can move to China and be with my partner.
For good.
Fuck.
No, as in.
What are we going to do about it?
Relax, relax.
Whoa.
Anna's like, rewind.
Anna, you need to manifest.
There's no Daniel Dubois. huh?
You need to manifest.
What is the sacrifice here?
No. But
So are we meeting you in China to do this?
be in the ability to be able to do so.
Yeah.
You're so rich, you can PJ.
Well, no, this is kind of it. If I were to move, I'd want to be in a position where I can go to China and live there for, let's say, 3 weeks and come back for a week.
We might all go with him.
Hong Kong?
China.
Okay.
Hong Kong's,
Yeah.
a different conversation
Okay.
for another day.
Not right now.
If I'm gonna live in Hong Kong, I may as well live in England because it's super expensive. So what's the point?
What about in China?
Guangzhou with my partner.
Good. So the reason I ask you specific questions is because it has to be quite specific to be able to.
Absolutely. So I want to be on
100,000.
100,000.
Be able to move to China if you want to.
Exactly.
Or she could move to England as well. She might.
He wants it that way.
Okay, fine.
He's manifesting.
We move to
That's my
China with him.
manifestation.
Yeah.
No, but as I said, I would always. There's always good priorities in life, and I've always said this. I've already said this to people in my life. I said, it's flow, right?
Yeah.
If this is what gets me to 100 grand, then therefore my goalpost changes. Mm-hmm. But the manifestation's still there. I still want to live with my partner.
Say live there, so it doesn't mean you can't factor in dates for work. Essentially,
Absolutely, and also it's like the ability to live there. Whether I live there next year or not, it's really not the problem there. The manifestation is that I do eventually can live there, and also make enough money to be able to sustain that. So that's where the 100 grand mark sits.
Okay. Michael?
the #1 podcast in the country.
Sick.
Amazing.
That's it.
Yeah.
You made mine look really bad.
And not some strange category or anything. We're not like
No,
in
just
the,
the #1 podcast in the country.
That's
Done.
amazing.
Bang, we've killed them.
You know what?
Dead.
Damn right.
Not dead. Like,
Damn right.
This is why
Love
we
it.
work so hard at what we do.
Absolutely.
And we look at all the stuff that
So
we
our audience will expect us to achieve those.
#1 podcast in the country, and the audience will help us.
Indeed.
They're going to help us. They're going to like, share, and subscribe and tell their friends about us, their families.
Thanks, guys.
Anna?
I want us to be able to count 10 million
Each or together.
together in 12 months.
In 12 months.
10 million.
Hey, I'm just going to sit back.
10 million what?
Thing.
Numbers?
10 million pounds.
subscribers? There you go.
10 million pounds.
Let's get it right. She said we got to be specific.
See, then my goals naturally get achieved. My manifestation is achieved. This is my point.
Exactly. And then you probably would have Dubois anyway.
And this is
in the
kind of-
journey, through the journey, #1 podcast and
Dubois helped us
and
get there
everything.
anyway.
So that
Yeah,
part
so-
that would essentially just all manifest.
Well, essentially,
naturally.
if we all achieve our goals, each one of them achieves the other.
Correct, yeah.
Essentially.
So we now have to flow because we've set it and forget it. And we just need to flow, trust the process,
No, but we also have to work hard.
and work.
Yeah, we-
Is it working hard?
And it's
Really
like,
bad.
whoa, hold on.
Whoa, flow. What mean flow to?
No, because let's just get it right. I don't think it's so much of working hard. Hear me out, Anna. because that's also measured by different people at different rates, right? Some people who are perceived as lazy actually believe that they're working hard. I'm just saying. So I'm going to remove that context just for what we're doing. And I think it's more togetherness, right? You may be a 100-hour worker. I'm not going to say Brendan, but Ed might be a 20-hour worker. But if you're telling Ed, how to get something done, he's just making that sacrifice to get it done. So you're giving him the hard work to him. But it's,
I was just being
see
really
what I mean?
annoying, really.
I think it's like, because we're dreaming it together, I think it's more as a team, we just got to listen to each other.
Is a collective manifestation more wobbly?
No, if anything, it's.
Do you think it's stronger?
Energetic.
It's certainly the first time I'm doing it.
I would say it's stronger because And I've said this from day one in terms of, I see a lot of these Instagram dudes, right, say, ghost everyone for 6 months, go to Bali, meet loads of new people and make yourself successful, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't work in my head because in my head, the people around me are like so important to me, right? So if, for example, even my current business, I've got a business partner, and where I sometimes may fall, I'm then picked back up again and vice versa. Mm-hmm. So I feel like as a group, when one person, and Michael's done it to me a few times during this process, right? When I'm overthinking things, he'll be like, Brendan, stop overthinking, just do it. Mm-hmm. And then that really helps me. So that keeps me in check. It's not necessarily about hard work. It's about clarity and about where I lack in where my weaknesses are. They're made up by someone else's strengths in the group.
And that's what I mean. Because what he does is a lot of work when we've stuck it on him.
Yeah.
We've stuck work on him. We pack him up with a lot of work where he could then be like, I'm working hard. We might be like, well, it's only a little piece of work. You know what I mean? We could be like that, but it might not be our field specifically, but in his field, it's hard work. Mm-hmm. Do you see what I mean? So I don't think it's so much hard work. I think it's just doing the stuff that you're not willing to do and making those sacrifices to do it and get it done. Be willing to do what you wasn't willing to do before to achieve that goal.
In anime terms, they call that plus ultra. Break through your boundaries.
Amen. Manifest that future. We said that'd be a good episode to speak about.
Yes. So,
go for it.
On that note, future, what's to come, and that would make a great podcast.
If you like that episode, like, share, subscribe so we can keep making this content.